Hi, welcome to episode 10 of Life's a Breach, Cyberfusion's latest podcast that goes through our emerging vendors, looking at some of the technology out there and giving channel and our enterprise customers a bit of an overview of what's coming and what's current right now. Delighted to be joined today by Garry Sidaway and Schroeder from Replica Cyber. Hi guys.
Hello.
Great to meet you.
Hi Steve,
Garry.
nice to see you again.
Long time no see. It's great,
Yeah.
great to see you around and great to see how you're progressing since we left NTT many years ago.
A few years ago now. Yeah. Nice to see you, Steve.
No, thank you. So tell me a bit about what you've been up to, Garry and Chris. You know, what's the background to Replica and you know, what was the appeal? Obviously, Garry, I trust a lot of things you've done in the past and we followed your progress. What drew you to the technology and Replica as a company as well? So a bit of a lot there, but if you want to...
Well, I'll obviously let Chris introduce it, but for me, I was looking, and we've always looked at this, Steve, what's happening in the market, what challenges the market facing from a corporate and enterprise perspective, and how do they resolve those challenges. And I think certainly from now, we're seeing an emergent from a technology perspective, that untrusted digital environment, and how do you manage that within a corporate environment? And I think I'll hand over to Chris to sort of give you the background of where the sort of foundation is of Replica Cyber.
Sure. So my background was I did a lot of work in cyber counterintelligence back in the US. And so that is protecting the US and our allies from compromise from foreign intelligence services and doing that in the cyber domain. And so that's some of the highest security and risk work that you can possibly do. We did that for many years. And every tool that we had available to go operate in that space, that really risky space, every tool had an issue with it. And you had to collect and collaborate with all these tools, but they all had compromises. It would put years worth of work at risk or destroy years worth of work and literally put people's lives at risk when you're operating in that type of level. And my co-founder, Ryan, and I stepped back and said, let's build a better platform. We know the problems. We know how to solve them. Let's build that platform. And that's why we started Replica Cyber. And it was to address that problem of the exposure of information when you're operating in the digital space. So the way we approached it is, what is the activity that you're trying to accomplish? And how can we provide comprehensive protections to what you're doing? And that's where Replica started.
And how, you know, people like, you know, counterintelligence, how have they dealt with this problem in the past up until now?
Through a collection of smattering of tools across time. So certain organizations say, okay, well, I'm going to take a VPN and make it protected. I'm going to take burner laptops. I'm going to take all these devices, bring them together. I'm going to take anonymous networks or give me some routing, whatever it might be. I'm going to harden the operating systems. Each of those has value, but it's just a piece of the puzzle, right? So when you bring them together, where do you get compromised? In the seams. You get compromised where you integrate these things together, or a human takes action that then exposes the work that they're doing or exposes intellectual property, whatever it might be. Because what Replica has evolved to is beyond this security space. I'm actually not a cyber expert by background, right? This is information operations, information warfare is kind of the work that we supported. But it's grown to be, how can we provide these comprehensive environments on demand at scale with a really simple approach to it, to just eliminate a lot of this cyber risk that previously would have destroyed work. And it's grown from that initial core to a much bigger solution. Yeah.
And you know, I guess, you know, in simplistic terms, and obviously for channel partners out there, and myself included, you know, years ago we would have said, look, VPN's enough. Mm-hmm. You know, you've got that, you're putting everything through encryption, but obviously it's not. Right. And all the layers of security we're putting up, it's still, you can have whatever you want, but it's still exposed once you're out there.
Yeah, I think it was that combination of trying to cobble together complex solutions to protect that environment. And everything now we do online leaves digital breadcrumbs everywhere. Yeah. And it's, how do we actually make sure that you're protecting those individuals, you're protecting that corporate environment in a platform that's easy to use, easy to deploy, and you can put your secure environment in there with those toolings and the requirements that they need to be able to function within their corporate world, but also enable them to be secure within that digital and unsecured digital environment.
It's really become that bridge between the untrusted and trusted worlds.
Yeah,
you bring these two activities, these two completely separate divisions together, and you can be really, really productive because the way these replica environments deployed to the platform are set up is they're completely isolated. It's a zero trust architecture, and beyond the marketing of it, we can go into the details of that. We actually built something that has zero trust value behind it. But it creates these environments that have, as you said, as Garry said, the tools that you need to be productive, but you can pull in the data that you need to actually be effective at what you're trying to do. You can control the data movement in and out. You have all this observability of what's going on. And that's the big gap when you had these other tools previously. It was a collection of all these, and you had no comprehensive coverage, no comprehensive observability to what's going on. And now you do. And that's a huge, huge change.
Yeah. I've seen the emergence of the browser, I think the browser isolation market over the last 2-3 years especially, but that doesn't seem as though it offers enough. And I think that's a very high level where you're looking at the generic user within an organization rather than where you're potentially aiming at the analyst and at the guys doing the real threat intelligence work.
I mean, that's absolutely a specific discrete use case for us. And it's an easy comparison, easy step from the government work that we did to the financial services, threat intelligence teams, and investigation teams. Those are people that we support today and is a very strong use case for us. But it's really evolved even beyond that. So think about third-party technology, third-party risk. You're bringing these new technologies into a company, and sometimes you make the decision of you can't do this, or it's going to take you 2, 3, 6 months to bring in this technology to run it through the processes, the procedures, the compliance, especially for these highly regulated organizations. Now, with Replica, think about an acquisition. And a bank might say no to an acquisition because the technical risk is too high. Yeah. We can't contain the risk or mitigate the risk of this technology they're going to bring to bear. So we can't make that deal. Now with Replica, you can move that, what would be considered risky technology, into Replica, have it fully functional and operate for that company that's being acquired, but completely mitigate the risk for that acquiring organization. So now we've not only solved a security problem, we now have new revenue for this company because Replica enables these new business channels, these new business opportunities that just weren't there previously. So it's really exciting for us because it takes it beyond, okay, well, we're putting a security measure in place. Like, no, we're enabling the business to do more than they were able to do yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real distinction really from a business perspective. Clearly, from my background, I've come from a cybersecurity world, and we've looked at malware, and we've looked at malware sandboxing and all of those technologies that we've tried to build together. But really for us now, it's actually taking that from a business decision. So how do I save my people's time? How do I do things more efficiently? How do I look at my third-party risks and do that in a more efficient way? Rather than trying to build complex systems, cobble those systems together, we actually now are effectively clicking a platform, a secure environment that actually then enables the business to make business decisions and not just technology decisions.
Yeah. Wow, it's pretty impressive. So, to me immediately, think of the technology you could pull within that environment, secure environment. I mean, we've got a couple of great vendors we work with, Cyberware and Team Cymru. Would it be possible that you could then pull in that threat intelligence operation and operate that within the Replica side of secure environment?
Absolutely. I think that's where we have evolved to this year. We bootstrapped the company. And so until recently, it's been a very lean team of engineers and myself. We've built something, the team has built something really wonderful. But now it's at the point of, okay, where we're growing. We did our first raise end of this last year. And now we have a team of go-to-market and individuals, which is very much focused on partnerships. Because that is really the way, as we're taking the product to market. Okay, financial services is great, and we're growing in expertise in that, but people have expertise in threat intelligence and need for tooling. So it's tech partnerships and service partnerships are really a focus of where we're going to be going. So absolutely, partners like that and bringing in that threat intelligence work to be done within Replica. Yeah, our customers are already identifying the tools that they want to use. And if we have partners say, oh, but we know that this is a good tool to use within the platform, it just makes a really good partnership for us.
Yeah, I think that's certainly some of the foundation of what we've got is those base templates. So how do we build out those base templates and leveraging your partner networks to say, well, these are the tools that our enterprises are using, but there are issues with it because of VPNs or encryption or however you want to do it. You can build those tools into base templates and again, just click and deploy. And I think that's the beauty for me from a not only from a technical perspective. So you can actually say, this is the environment I'm working in today. I just click and deploy that within my current environment, and you're then productive and making sure that productive environment's working efficiently and effectively.
Yeah. So I guess, if you've got the strategic initiatives, merger and acquisition, R&D, you suddenly go from looking at a focus area around the defense world to, as you said earlier, we can actually go across most verticals now.
Really, yes.
And that's the interesting bit. Obviously the threat intelligence world has grown significantly, and it's great that you can give those analysts the ability to go and do that research. But the wider use cases, that's where you get to play seriously, especially, the financial markets. The M&A is something significant. And it also opens you up to the wider partner landscape as well.
Absolutely. So if you look at the people that we need to talk to now, and we're a certified B Corp. And so we always have this mission to protect life online. So the threat analysts, the threat intelligence people, they are the people that we want to make sure they are protected, their organizations are protected. We will always do that. But growing from there, you're right. Like now that's a conversation with the CFO and the CEO. Like, no, you can make a different business decision today than you were able to do yesterday because of how Replica is architected. So those are completely different discussions. And for me, that's really exciting because it does the thing that we've always tried to do is have business value out of security, which is hard.
Yeah.
Right. It's always been an added cost. And now this is coming with real revenue and business value to it. And that's exciting. Yeah.
Do you see potentially there'll be a consolidation play where by giving added security as a secure environment, potentially they can actually lose one or two solutions down the line to make it more comprehensive, but more cost effective for them?
I think as we've looked at it, and I think you mentioned it earlier, people are aware of isolation browsers, people are aware of sandboxing and VPNs, but the platform enables that within a consolidated approach, and I think those are the differences that you get it. And it's not just at an application level; it's the business level, the infrastructure level, the data level, and the user level, and that complete isolation gets you away from picking point solutions and trying to build and cobble together a solution. That ability to say, this is the environment I want to work in, and I think it's Fraud Awareness Month at the moment. So you can build your fraud teams. You can look at social mirroring environments. You can do that within the platform. You have mobile emulation, so you can actually do your social media research. You can look at brand reputation, all within an isolated environment that, again, separates that untrusted digital environment from your corporate secure environment. And I think that differentiation has to be compelling to market and partners.
Yeah. And I see, I was looking on the website and I see that consulting and auditing is a big play for you guys, especially, and I can certainly see the business case there. Is that something you actively went out there to put as a bit of a use case? Or
that's a good question. No. So we started in the government space. That was an easy transition, not easy, but it was a straightforward transition into financial services because a lot of the people that had done that government work now are running the CISOs or the lead of the fusion centers for different organizations in banks and insurance companies. But no, it's been organic. If you look at into whether in the US was healthcare, organically into the service providers, the consultancies, into the big organizations, they are pulling us in because when they learn about what Replica can do, they say that is going to make my business offering better, or their direct customers. We are using that to protect our organization and what we're doing, and having that as both. That's again, they're pulling us in, and we'll continue to grow our team to support that. But then their partnership then accelerates that part of our business and what they're taking to market.
And so I guess so if I'm right, if I say had auditors coming into my company, we could actually share a lot of sensitive information and they would open that within the secure environment. So I had zero risk, total visibility. So I guess, it just makes there's a great B2B case there where you can actually start, not quite supply chain risk management, but you can start ensuring that anyone you're passing data to within your environment, whether they're your organization or third party, is always done in a secure way.
Yeah, very much so. And I think this goes to a lot of the real risks to a lot of organizations at the moment, whether, and obviously from a phishing background and a lot of headlines around phishing, but also third parties and supply chain risk. How do you ensure that environment and what you're passing within those environments is in a secure enclave? And I think that area is also very, very interesting. The other piece, and I think Chris mentioned this around fusion, we're seeing a lot of these disparate teams now who would have their separate functions coming together in the Replica platform, because they can collaborate and they can share information, they can share intelligence, and they can share where the business challenges are within a consistent platform, rather than doing it in different teams and different functions. All of that now is coalescing around what is called the Fusion in a lot of enterprises, and that Fusion Center allows you to collaborate and share intelligence and make informed business decisions from it.
Yeah.
But even so, I think you're hitting on the point of control, right? You can share information without losing control of it. That's been a problem forever.
Yeah.
So I have a supplier. They're trying to share. They need to share information with me, but as soon as they give me that Excel file or that document or set series of documents, I have it now, and they've lost control over it. If you put that into a replica environment where the system controls anything that can be pulled out or pushed in or pulled out of that environment, now you have a fundamentally different level of control, and I can share that environment with you to do your analysis against that data, but the data can't move out. You can go in there, you have the tool that you need to use to do your analytics against it. You have the data that's in there, and you can do your work, you can get your reporting done and get your end result. And then that environment goes away or goes back to that original owner, and you've done your work and they haven't lost control.
And the data goes with it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I like it. I like it a lot. That's very good. Going on to the partner landscape, how would this sit as a managed service? Is that something that the possibilities out there for partners that would be looking to further their consultancy and add this as some sort of managed service into their customers? Could that be done?
Yeah. Yeah, I think certainly if you look at what a managed service is now moving towards, there's still a lot of reactive technology from a managed service perspective.
Yeah.
The things like DORA and the compliance being about resiliency. And I think you've got to start to being proactive. And I think that's where the managed services can come and leverage Replica to take that proactive stance, to take that threat intelligence which they're gathering and make it specific to their clients. And I think that is a game changer from a managed service perspective that says, okay, I can take generic threat intelligence, but how do I make it specific to your environment? How do I know the threat is actually a risk to your business and build a service around that? And that proactive resilience stance, I think, will become more and more, as Dora and others now looking at that proactive approach rather than sort of reactive approach that traditionally managed services have looked at.
And I guess it really does help them to really firm up their SLAs and their data security on the basis if they're doing everything via a managed service, via a secure environment, then obviously the data is 100% safe. So it really does firm up what we're in the market.
So right, yeah. So and you know, how did we modify firewalls and change rule sets, and then where's the risk in that process? We used to put application and appliances in the network. All of that can go away because you're actually managing that environment through the Replica platform. So that secure interchange, I think, is also very important when you're looking from a managed service perspective.
Yeah. That's got to be something pretty compelling.
And even from an enabling standpoint of, you take one customer came to us a couple of years ago and said they're standing up a service offering. They were going to be doing response activities, so incident response activities. They needed to receive terabytes worth of endpoint images that had been compromised or potentially compromised and do analysis against it. They knew the tools they wanted to use. They knew the size of the data and how they needed to get the data. But their CTO said, "There's no way I can create this laboratory for you. We're highly regulated. It's too expensive. It's going to take me 6 months at least to get this stood up." They said, "We need to move out now for these opportunities." From the time they talked to us to the time I was able to kind of procure the infrastructure that they needed, because they needed really terabytes and GPUs and things to moving forward, it was a week. And then everything was automated within the SaaS platform to have this malware forensics laboratory that they could spin up with the tools that they wanted, grab those up to 50, 100 terabytes of images, throw it into the platform, do their analytics, get their reporting out, tear it down, all automated within the platform. You think about that. I've just saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars in labor time, 6 months of actual execution time, and they're able to do that risky activity, take that to an incident response as a managed service. Well, now that's a real differentiator for you.
Yeah, that's very good. And where do you see the technology going? I mean, it's everything you said is pretty compelling, and it's actually quite mind blowing to think, where can this go? Because, you've kind of secured everything. But what do you think? Where would you see you positioning in sort of 12 months time? In the security stack.
Yeah, so we really need to stay focused, right? There's a lot going on out there, and no, this is a journey, not an end destination in 12 months for sure. So it's going to be continue to grow out our verticals where we're supporting financial services and moving over into others, but it's the partnership, as you asked before, it's the partnerships so I have a wonderful engineering team, and we've just expanded to have a wonderful go-to-market team. It is really, I'm not going to grow a financial services team and a healthcare and insurance and go into retail, wherever this can go.
Yeah.
So that's where the partnership expertise needs to come in to bring the people in those industries, and we partner and work with, and really there is not a spot for us in the Gartner matrix anywhere. So that will change here in the next year.
Yeah, not without upsetting a few people, I imagine.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
but
you've got to break a few eggs. And you've got a great UK team as well. So that's good to see you've got feet on the street. That makes such a difference in the UK, actually having well-known local people to go and, preach what you're doing. If I had to sum up in a 2-sentence for channel partners, what you guys do and how they could best explain it to the customers, what would that strap line be?
So if this was a week ago, I would have said it is to protect and enable the high risk activities for our customers. But now it is still to do that, but that can enable the additional business value for the customers. They can bring the business new opportunities that they couldn't do yesterday. So protecting and enabling risky activities, mitigating technical risk to grow their business.
Okay.
I think it's simply de-risking their business decisions.
Yeah.
So how do I open new markets? How do I embrace new technologies? How do I look at acquiring other companies? De-risking those decisions, I think, is critical now, and it goes beyond just technology. It goes beyond actually how do I make an informed business decision that I can take to my board and say, well, we can de-risk this decision, whether it's technology, whether it's a merger and acquisitions, whether it's a new market, whether it's a new company. All of that can be de-risked.
Yeah. And what were the strongest verticals you were working with in the US that you've also seen quite strong here? I'm assuming ministry is very high on that, MOD, defense, and finance. Were there any other standout markets?
Sure. So I mean, the comparisons are fairly it could be large. Yeah. Over in the US, we have this wonderful organization, the National Cyber Forensics and Training Alliance, that we partner with. They've been a customer of ours, and we are one of the vendor partners that we work with closely. But they have a corollary over here, the Cyber Defense Alliance. We met with them recently. Another wonderful organization. Again, they are focused on financial services over here in the UK, and defending them. It's the same people, and as they evolve, they're a younger organization compared to the one in the US. As they evolve, then we'll be there to support them and evolve with them as they go from the strict banks to the financial service or to the insurance companies. Yeah. And as they evolve, we will evolve with them. And as we work with we had a wonderful organization, Mission Link UK, again, a corollary to what we have in the US, bringing startups into MOD and other agencies within the UK. Excellent place for us to support, but it then organically takes us into other avenues where we've been introduced to healthcare systems that are over here, or into other companies and other partners. And that's really it. It's a lot that we can do, and just need to stay focused and not have my UK team here overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I guess the final bit is partners that are interested, that have watched the podcast and would like to have a look at this and potentially put it in front of customers. Is there a proof of concept procedure? Is there a straightforward? I'm guessing the way you've said about how simple it is to spin up, that if somebody wants to run a proof of concept, it's a lot easier than a lot of the other technology out there. What does that look like?
Yeah, well, it's effectively just a simple browser. Once you've set up the environment, and we can do that very quickly, you create an environment that's appropriate. And we have a whole set of base templates. So if you're doing threat research, whether you're doing malware, whether you're doing fraudulent or social media, all of those templates we build, and you basically select the template you want, and you're up and running. So a proof of concept would run very, very, very smoothly in terms of just being able to enable that within your partner ecosystem.
And that access, as Garry said, is just through a browser. Right? So you get to this access to this complete environment ecosystem, not just a browser. You have this complete ecosystem through a browser from any device that you have. So that when they think about the other things that it mitigates, so BYOD, you can access really high-end infrastructure and technology from your personal device, and your corporation still has access or observability and control over what's going on. And that unleashes a lot of opportunity for developers and for research, and still keeps you really easy to spin these things up. So
and I guess because everything you bring in stays in its native language anyway, so there's no real learning to do on new technology.
No,
it's just all the tech you've always used in a secure browser.
Exactly right. Yeah, it is really, and from my perspective, from a technical perspective, it's then very difficult to demonstrate because effectively you're just clicking a few buttons and you're in a very secure environment. And you can run scripts, you can do run jobs in there, you can emulate your mobile phones. Everything is in that platform. So from a demo perspective, again, really very straightforward, but not sexy.
No, but it does what it says on the tin. That's the important bit. So. Fantastic. Well, really appreciate your time. It sounds like an absolutely exciting technology. Looking forward to getting out in front of our partners and, hopefully get you some demos moving forward and make a few introductions. But fantastic speaking to you. And thanks for coming along for that.
Thanks, Steve. I really appreciate it.
No, lovely.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Nice to see you again.
Likewise. Okay. Thanks very much. Thanks for joining us. And we look forward to speaking soon on our next Life's a Breach podcast. Thank you.